Okay, so for the better part of 2 decades, PSA has basically been the undisputed king of trading card grading, right? I mean, if you wanted the absolute highest resale value, the most trusted slabs, and just that instant market recognition, PSA was pretty much the only name you needed to know. But looking at the landscape of the hobby right now in 2026, well, something feels really different. You can literally feel the ground shifting under the giant's feet.
And it's leading collectors, dealers, and investors to ask one massive, unavoidable question. Is PSA actually still the best option out there? For years, sending a stack of cards off to PSA was just an automatic reflex. But today, the people actually driving this hobby, the folks out there buying, selling, and building their personal collections, are stepping back and rethinking the whole thing. We're all actively wondering if there are better, more reliable alternatives stepping up to claim the throne. So, let's dive into what's actually fueling this market shift. Honestly, the frustrations are just piling up. First off, you've got those agonizingly long turnaround times that completely lock up your cards and your capital. Add to that the repeated price increases that are really squeezing profit margins, especially for dealers. But the absolute biggest pain point? Grading consistency. When you combine human subjectivity with this massive flood of low-value cards clogging up their system, you end up with identical cards getting totally different grades depending on, the day of the week? These aren't just minor hiccups anymore. These are the core agitations driving people to look for real alternatives. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to start with the king under fire, then look at the legacy rivals, check out the TCG specialist, dive into the AI technology disruptors, cover some niche and regional options, and wrap up with what the future grading wars will look like. All right, Section 1, the king under fire. Let's take a look at PSA's historical dominance and its growing vulnerability. Right now, it's kind of like a tale of two completely different hobbies. If you're looking at this strictly from an investor's perspective, PSA is still the absolute gold standard. A PSA 10 is just going to outsell the equivalent grade from almost any competitor, period. They've got the biggest population reports, a massive database, and an eBay presence that is completely unmatched. They are the liquidity kings, for sure. But if you look at it from a pure collector's view, PSA's sheer volume is becoming a huge problem. With millions of cards flooding their system, collectors are getting really loud about how inconsistent the grading is. Toss in those rising fees, and the divide is clear. Investors need PSA for the ROI, but collectors are realizing there might be safer, more consistent homes for their personal collections. Which brings us nicely to our next section, the legacy rivals. Let's talk about the traditional heavyweights BGS and SGC. Before PSA totally monopolized modern cards, Beckett, or BGS, was the ultimate premium brand in the hobby. And honestly, their Black Label 10 is still the absolute holy grail for a lot of high-end collectors. Why? It all comes down to the subgrades, centering, corners, edges, and surface. That breakdown gives you a level of total transparency that PSA just doesn't offer. You know exactly why your card got the grade it did. Now look, it's no secret Beckett has lost a lot of market share lately. Turnaround times have been all over the place, and their liquidity trails PSA. But if you're holding a truly flawless modern card, hitting that perfect black label is still one of the most respected flexes in the entire hobby. And then we have SGC. They're affectionately known as the people's grading company these days, and for good reason. They're fast, they're affordable, and they are incredibly consistent. Their secret weapon is the tuxedo. It's that instantly recognizable black insert slab that just makes vintage cards absolutely pop. Because let's be real, who doesn't look better in a tuxedo, right? SGC completely owns the vintage market right now. Purists will tell you all day that a vintage card just looks miles better in a tuxedo than in a frosted PSA slab. The catch is that modern cards in an SGC slab usually won't hit PSA resale prices. But for vintage, they are arguably the most reliable alternative out there. Moving on, let's look at a company that's carving out a massive lane for itself, the TCG specialist, CGC. So CGC actually crashed the trading card party from a totally different world, comic books, and they brought that heritage of crazy pinpoint grading precision with them. While they might still be chasing PSA and Beckett in traditional sports cards, CGC is absolutely dominating the trading card game space. We're talking Pokemon, One Piece, Larcana, the whole shebang. Their pristine 10 is highly respected in those communities. But here's the really brilliant part, the demographics. CGC is building massive momentum with younger collectors. By locking down the TCG crowd right now, they are literally securing brand loyalty with the next generation of the hobby. It's a phenomenal long-term play. And that brings us to the literal future of the hobby. Section 4, AI Technology Disruptors, featuring TAG and AGS. This is inevitably where the whole industry is heading. Traditional grading is all human evaluation, which means it's subjective, it's totally mysterious. We've all been there, staring at a flawless card and wondering, wait, why on earth did this get a 9? Well, tech grading from companies like TAG and AGS is replacing that mystery with AI-assisted objective measurements. No more guessing. You get a detailed digital report that shows you, down to the micrometer, exactly why your card earned its grade. It takes the human inconsistency completely out of the equation and gives us the exact transparency we've been begging for.
But here's the catch. The ultimate challenge for these tech disruptors is market acceptance and scale. The technology is mind-blowing, and it's exactly what we need. But collectors have to believe the wider market will actually pay a premium for those tech-driven grades. Right now, a TAC 10 just doesn't sell for PSA 10 money. Actually, it's a huge mountain to climb. They have to scale up their operations while simultaneously changing the deeply ingrained financial psychology of millions of collectors. If they can pull it off, though, it's a total game changer.
Let's pivot quickly to Section 5, niche and regional options. Sometimes it's just about finding the perfect fit.
Look, not every company is trying to take down PSA globally. Some are absolutely thriving just by catering to specific crowds. Over in the UK, Ace Grading is the go-to for European soccer fans, amazing labels, and you don't get destroyed by overseas shipping fees. Back in the US, HGA is famous for these gorgeous custom color matching labels. They look incredible for a personal collection, even if the resale value isn't quite there. On the budget side, GMA is super cheap, which is perfect if you just want to protect and display lower value stuff. And back in Europe, AOG is doing great things for German collectors with a local tech-driven service. It just goes to show there's plenty of room in the hobby for specialized guys doing their own thing.
So, what does this all mean? Our final section, the future grading wars. What actually happens next? Let's pull all this together. Is everyone going to just abandon PSA overnight? No way. The network effect, the brand recognition, it's just too big. However, the genuine threats are building serious momentum right now. TAG is aggressively forcing the conversation about transparency. Beckett still holds the crown for high-end, pristine respect with their subgrades, and CGC is quietly building an absolute army of younger collectors in the TCG space. PSA might still be on the throne, but these rivals are successfully conquering some very valuable territory on the map.
There's a core business truth here that really hits the nail on the head. History shows market leaders are rarely challenged from above. They are challenged from below. PSA's rivals aren't trying to out-PSA them. They're attacking through ground-up innovation, objective transparency, and by just giving people a better customer experience. They're systematically solving the exact headaches that PSA's massive scale created in the first place. The grading wars are far from over, guys. In fact, this new tech-driven phase, it might literally just be getting started.
So I'm going to leave you with this to chew on for your own collections and investments. When you weigh the unmatched liquidity of PSA against the pure transparency of TAG, or that amazing vintage look of SGC, or CGC's dominance in TCG, which company is going to grade your next card? Think about what you actually value most, whether that's maximum resale speed, aesthetic display, or objective accuracy, and let that guide your next move. Thanks for hanging out for this explainer, and keep enjoying the hobby.